Okay, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Thanksgiving to those of you who live in the United States of America like me. I am Darkside Phil, and welcome to the 73rd. Yeah, 73 episodes of Ask the King, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost coming up on the 75th anniversary. Holy crap. Been a long time. Been a while since I've been doing the show, right? So happy Thanksgiving. Today is Thursday, November 22nd, 2018, and I thank you all for being here. Those who are here live, I mean, that's amazing that you guys could even come out on Thanksgiving Day to hang out with me. For those who aren't, thanks for watching this on demand on YouTube. I know I almost upload absolutely nothing to my vlogging channel anymore, but I do still have it in place just for things like this and also as an archive of all my previous vlogging content. So thanks. So here's the deal. I've got a bunch of questions from people who are patrons, from people who are forum users, from people on Twitter, and we're going to go through these questions and answer them for all of you today, per the typical style of show. If you want a chance to get your questions answered on the next episode of Ask the King, there's two different ways you can do that. You can post up right now on my forums. Head over to thekingofhate.com, my website. Go to the forums. There's an Ask the King section on the forums where you can already start posting up your questions for the next episode, which will take place in January of 2019. Or you can pledge to my Patreon directly below here. If you pledge to $20 or more to my Patreon, you get your question answered in depth for sure on the show. Okay? So those are the two methods that you can get your question in right now. Now, I also take Twitter questions the day of, but I only do it for a very short window. I took like maybe 5 or 6 questions today from Twitter. So thanks to everyone who posted up on Twitter as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot to cover. All right, we got a lot of questions to answer, so I think what we're going to do is jump right in. How does that sound? All right, so we start off with questions from Infinite55. He's a patron, and he has 2 questions to ask, which I'm going to answer in depth because he is a patron contributor. His first question is as follows. I realize we have rules on certain Twitch chats that prevent us from discussing divisive incendiary topics, like religion and politics and philosophy. I've been on streams where cordial confabulations have evolved or developed into pure pandemonium. Do you think we will ever get to a point as a society where talking about radioactive topics such as religion and politics would be as innocuous as talking about the weather on any given day? Moreover, what do you think is inhibiting our society from being able to reach this particular feat? For me, the reason I don't go there, the reason that I don't go to those topics is very simple. People get hurt. People get angry. People get upset. Like, there are people who would watch my video game content or my vlogging content and be like, wow, I really like Phil. He's an entertaining guy. And then you find out I don't agree with you on a political issue, and it's like, that's it. I'll never watch Phil ever again. Huh? Like, what? Why? You know what I mean? Like, we don't all have to agree on every issue. One person can believe in one religion. One person can believe in a different religion. One person might not believe in religion at all. One person believes on this side of the fence when it comes to politics. This person's the other side. Does that mean that they're awful people? And that, you cannot have any kind of involvement or affinity to that person just because they do something you don't like? I'll be honest with you. I like pro wrestling, but I know for a fact that there are certain people in pro wrestling that lean towards things that I don't like in their personal lives. I don't care. I'm a fan of pro wrestling. All I care about is what happens in that ring or on that show. I don't care about what happens outside of there. But there are people who can't separate that. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, the world's black and white to them. If it's either you were 100% in agreement or you are my enemy. And it's like, huh? And what I've found as I've gotten older and older, okay, because I'm very old, as you guys know, about 80, 90 years old at this point, is that the world is not a black and white place. The world is many, many, many shades of gray, because that's why we have such disagreements. If the world was black and white, you'd have, here's the right way to do things, here's the wrong way, and it would be very easy to figure everything out. It's not. The problem is that no one can agree on these issues. You know what I mean? And when you take a look at certain things that happen in our world, yeah, maybe a certain political topic is incredibly important, and we need to figure out what are we going to do in our government or whatever to take care of a certain issue. And yeah, people might be very divisive about it and may even get kind of heated when they talk about it and dealing with it. That doesn't mean we have to hate each other. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's a maturity level thing. Like, I'll be honest, when I started on YouTube, I was a very much more immature person than I am now. It was my way or the highway. Either you agree with me or you don't. That was over 10 years ago. But that's kind of how I was. That was my mind mentality. And being exposed to thousands upon thousands, if not millions of people on the internet over the past 10 years, I know now that that's not how the world is. That there are many different ways to see things. You can walk in someone else's shoes and try to see a different perspective without, even if you don't even agree with that perspective, you can at least kind of understand where someone's coming from and not hate them just because it's not your perspective. And sadly, that's kind of what it is. It's people being immature and people being greedy. That's the other thing. Well, I only believe my stance is correct, so therefore, if you don't believe in my stance, that's it. I hate you. It's like, what? Like, that? How just greedy is that you think that only you could be right? Right? Only you could be right. Or that maybe maybe, not saying your mindset's wrong, but maybe you could change or adjust your mindset a little bit, at least to be a little bit more open to other people's opinions. And, let's face it, one of the things that's the worst is religion in that regard. Like, what I believe religiously is correct. Everyone else is wrong. I just never understood that. I was raised Roman Catholic. My whole life, I went to a Catholic school in elementary school and then in high school. I received sacraments and everything in the Roman Catholic Church. But by the time that I hit college level or university level, my mind had broadened its horizons, to which I started researching other religions and things and realizing, gee, maybe the Roman Catholic religion is kind of narrow-minded and I should open up my perspective on this kind of thing to understand other cultures and other things going on in the world. And I'm not saying that one is right or wrong at all. I'm just saying, like, I kind of opened my understanding, and boy, did my life view change. Yet I still know people to this day who they were raised in one kind of religion or one kind of political line of thought, and they will never let themselves break free of that mold because that's how they were molded as a child up now till adulthood, and they stay there the rest of their lives. For me, that's not how I am. I always want to be evolving, learning, changing for the better. And again, I'm not saying if you've stuck with one worldview your whole life that that's incorrect either. That's okay, but I just like being a more open-minded individual. So why can't we talk about these kind of topics on a gaming stream? It's very simple. Because number one, I'm trying to put out a stream that's a chill stream. Okay, by the way, you might hear that outside. Someone's landscaping today. It's Thanksgiving. Who the hell is landscaping on Thanksgiving? I have no idea. Of all days of the year, I thought where I would not hear a fucking lawnmower or whatever that is. I thought it would be today, yet I'm hearing it. Anyway, I don't think that's landscaping in my community, by the way. I think it's someone like down the block. But anyway, my streams, the purpose of my streams, all right, is to basically entertain you with gameplay and honest reactions to said gameplay, to have a chill environment where when you come to my streams, we can actually relax and not have to be bombarded with all of those dramatic topics from real life. When you come to see me play Red Dead Redemption 2, you don't want it to break out into a talk about what's the religion, the pitfalls of religion, and what's good or bad about religion. You're like, what the fuck is this? I just want to see someone play a game. I don't want to get into this drama and shit. You deal with that stuff in your real life outside of my stream. You don't want that to bombard what's going on my stream, right? That's why I stay away from it. Will there ever be a day where the human race, as a race of people, realize that they should not be so divisive and they should be more open-minded and don't hate people for not being like you? I mean, I don't know. Certainly, I'm not one to give that answer, and I have no idea what's going to happen in the future with humans. I myself have been able to become a much more open-minded person in the last 10 years, so maybe there's hope for everybody. If I was a really obstinate, stubborn asshole, and I became more open-minded, and I can, talk about these topics and have conversations without getting all angry at other people, maybe other people can too. So at least there's maybe a snippet of hope there, okay? Okay. Question number 2 from Infinite. He says, all my life, especially throughout my university career, I've noticed that people like to form or divide themselves into racial cliques or groups based solely on the color of their skin, or to put it differently, solely based on the amount of melanin in their skin. After doing a little research and carrying out my own basic experiments using mitochondrial DNA, I discovered that some Caucasians in my friends group were actually more genetically similar to African American group members than other Caucasians. That being said, why do you think we consciously divide ourselves in such a way? Or why are some people more inclined to associate themselves with people from their own race, especially in cases where cultural difference isn't a factor, and when scientific research fails to support this idea that skin color has any intrinsic value with respect to genetic determinism? That is a heavy question. Basically, what he's saying is, why do people gravitate towards race and sticking around with people of their own race? That's the general explanation. When what he's basically saying is there's no scientific evidence that that should happen. Like, just because someone is a different skin tone than you doesn't mean that they're not like you, right? Or in many different ways. For me, and this is me, my own personal experience, and your personal experience may be completely different. I grew up in a multicultural community my entire life. When I was growing up in Connecticut, my next door neighbor was white. My other next door neighbor was Puerto Rican. And I didn't see any difference between that. Like, I didn't understand that, oh, white and Puerto Rican, they were just my friends. You know what I mean? Then another kid in the neighborhood was African American, and he became our friends, and we had this group of friends who would come and play with toys and everything together and hang out and run around the neighborhood and do fun stuff. And I never had that kind of association where just because someone's a different color that they're different than you. You know what I mean? My elementary school was multicultural. I went to school with people of all different races and creeds. I would say in Connecticut, it was a mix of Caucasian, African American, Latino, and Asian. Okay, those were like the primary cultures that were in that area of Connecticut where I lived when I was a kid. And again, like, I understood there was something different between us. Like, maybe our families had different traditions and the like, but never did I honestly ever think that there was something different or wrong about not being the same skin color. Like, for me, I never, ever was a consideration. Quite frankly, it wasn't until much later on in my life, until like the teen years, late teen years, when a lot of my friends started falling into line with that. So I'll be honest, like, there would be people who I was friendly with earlier in my life, and now because I was white, all of a sudden they're not supposed to be friends with me anymore. And I was like, huh? I didn't understand that. But they fell in line with kind of these racial cliques or whatever. I want to hang out with my own kind or whatever. In my honest opinion, people gravitate towards a few things. Number one, people with similar interests, right? If I'm a gamer, I'm going to gravitate towards hanging out with other gamers. I want to talk about games. I want to play games. That's the stuff I want to do. So I'm going to be friends with anyone who likes playing video games. And that's kind of how it was when I was growing up. And I don't understand why people think that, like, race has anything to do with that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. Like, for me, personal interests, personal hobby interests and that stuff was one of the main reasons why I had the friends that I had when I was growing up younger. Then I would also say there's a lot of socioeconomic factors. For example, if your family is of a higher income level than another family and you can afford it, you're going to probably live in a different area than a different family, right? The thing is, for me, that was never a fact. I could care less how much money my friends had or whatever. But for some reason, there's people who, like, we're inclusive and we only want to hang out with people who are like us and only have the same kind of money and same kind of stuff that we have. I've never been like that at all, but there are some people who are definitely like that, and I don't know why. Maybe you feel safer if you're with people who are all the same income level. I just think it's paranoia. In all reality, it's a lot of paranoia from people. I think a lot of people are overprotective of the things that they have and the things that they've earned in their life, and they're afraid that, oh my God forbid that I'm friendly with people who aren't of my same socioeconomic structure, that they might try to take what I got and stuff like that. Like, for me, that's like it blows my mind that people even think that way. Because in my life, the things that I've done and the friends that I made, I mean, when I was growing up in arcades, video arcades playing Street Fighter, pretty much almost everyone in the arcade was not white. I'm not even kidding. Like, I was one of the few white guys in that arcade. It was mostly Latinos and African Americans who kind of were into that thing where I was growing up. So for me, I was almost like the odd guy out when it came to that. But I never had a problem hanging out with those people. You know what I mean? Like, hanging out with other gamers. I saw them as gamers. I didn't see it as, oh, this is a different race or something like that at all. And then later on growing up, you know, when I got heavily into Street Fighter, competitive Street Fighter, and I wanted to start traveling the country to play competitive Street Fighter, I was completely open to, you know, anyone, you know, hanging out with anyone, playing against anyone. You know what I mean? Like, and I think, honestly, that's one of the biggest eye-opening things I ever saw was traveling the country and just seeing that everyone who was into Street Fighter was kind of really cool with each other. Although there were some rivalries and things, don't get me wrong. West Coast, East Coast rivalry, yeah. But even then, like, I was able to travel to the West Coast and stay with a couple people who were cool with me just hanging out and playing, and they basically wanted to play against me and learn off of what I had known in Street Fighter or whatever. They didn't care about what color I fucking was. You know what I mean? Like, it's so stupid. And in my opinion, it's a very, very outdated way to judge people, okay? Now that you're absolutely right, Infinite, in saying we have scientific evidence stating that skin color itself literally has nothing to do with anything. It just has to do with where, you know, a race of people came from the globe. Oh no, the sun was stronger in Africa, so the people adapted their skin to evolve to it so they wouldn't get sunburn all the time. Oh look, in Europe, there wasn't a lot of sun, so now they're pasty. Who gives a fuck about that? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Nothing at all. In 2018, the modern era, we shouldn't be caring about any of that kind of shit. The problem is people still can't get out of their old, outdated mindsets of how things are. They've always been that way, and shucks if I'm going to let this group of people with different skin color than me into my socioeconomic group or my place where I live or my club or my business or my herpaderp, whatever the hell it might be. It's really fucking dumb. It really is dumb. And I've never, ever allowed that to, you know, to make me make judgments or whatever off of anyone. It's funny because I grew up in, you know, a Connecticut that would consider almost a bad part of Connecticut. And I would go to places and people would look at me who, like, from outside of the state would, oh my God, we're going there? But all those people over there are, like, black. I'm like, yeah, and? If you're just cool, shit doesn't happen. If you purposely act like a fucking asshole, if you act uncomfortable, if you pick a fight, if you do dumb shit, you're gonna get in trouble, sure. But if you act like a normal fucking person, in general, no one wants to fuck with you. So why are you worried? Oh my God. I really never understood it. I never understood it at all. But that's just me. You know, sadly, like I said, like I just said earlier, there are people who grow up with a certain philosophy, or you're kind of ingrained into a certain belief system. There are people, sadly, in the United States who still believe to this day that people who are not white are, like, evil. Oh my God, they're lesser beings than us. They don't deserve any happiness or freedom because they came into our country. Little do they know, if you actually research it, that's not how it happened. But they came into our country and now they want things. It's like, oh my God, fucking give me a headache. These fucking people with their outdated thinking. It blows my mind sometimes. Okay, so anyway, I think that it has nothing to do with anything, skin color. But you know, they're always gonna have people who are going to believe that. And there's not much you could do about it. You know, today's Thanksgiving, and how many people will be spending time with family or relatives or friends who are like that? And you have to kind of sit at the turkey table and be like, yeah, I'm going to put up with this guy fucking muttering about the Latinos or the blacks again. And I got to fucking put up with this idiot talking about this when in reality I don't want to start a fight. But this guy does this every fucking year and I got to hear it, right? You know? I've been there too. Because I have family members like that too, okay? So, you know, what can you say? Some people, they want to actually be modernized and enlightened, and other people just want to live in this crazy-ass, you know, belief system of people are superior to others. I don't know what else to say about that, you know? All right, let us now move on to forum questions. These are questions that people posted up on the forums, and I chose the best ones, okay? Well, let me take that back. I didn't choose the best ones. I chose the ones that I felt I'd be able to answer more in accordance with an entertaining stream, and also ones that I think that I maybe could do a little bit more with, rather than, you know, there were some other great questions. I was like, on this show, I don't know if I'd be able to sufficiently do a good job on that question. You know what I mean? Okay. So the first question is from Tynel, and he says, what is your best dream Thanksgiving dinner? Well, on Thanksgiving, traditionally when I was growing up with my parents, they would always make a turkey. They would stuff it with breaded stuffing, cranberry sauce, usually a few veggies, like maybe like sweet potatoes, stuff like that. So a very traditional Thanksgiving dinner in that way. A few times I've had what are considered roasts, meaning it's like a processed turkey breast that has seasoning and stuff on it, and all you do is you chop it up. And that's been pretty good. But pretty much every Thanksgiving ever, I've had turkey. Okay. And I'm not saying I wouldn't want to do turkey, but like if you're going all out and you want just the craziest thing possible for Thanksgiving, maybe try out one of those crazy tofurkeys or whatever the hell they are, where people like stuff. Not tofurkey. That's disgusting. That's a tofu turkey. I meant to say turducken. That's what I meant to say. Oh my god, I said tofurkey. I can't believe I totally said the wrong thing. No, I don't want a tofu turkey. Blech. I want, like, well, turducken. You get the duck stuffed inside of a turkey or whatever. I love duck. I absolutely love duck. I think it's very delicious meat. I've had duck in many different preparations in my life. And, you know, in particular, Asian food, Asian preparation of duck is quite delicious. So maybe that turducken, you stuff the duck inside the turkey or whatever. I've never had anything crazy like that at all. Okay. So maybe something crazy like that. Okay. Someone actually asked me the other day, oven roasted turkey or deep fried turkey? To which I was like, deep fried turkey? I've never had deep fried turkey. And the older I get, even though I'll admit deep fried stuff tastes absolutely delicious, I gotta stay away from that shit. And even just thinking about deep fried turkey kind of makes me like, ugh. So more than likely, I would like to do variations of something crazy with turkey that I've never had before, or something like that. Okay. All right. The next question from Mikleo. And Mikleo asks the following. He says, with Smash for the 3DS and Wii U, you seem to have quite a bit of fun at first, but later on it seemed like you didn't enjoy it that much. Not even coming back to it as a way to play with your fans later or any kind of special multiplayer stream. My question is, with the new Smash, how do you plan to play the game? Do you have any plans to use Smash as a game to play during a multiplayer stream or future streams? Well, the good news about Smash Brothers Ultimate, which I believe is what it's called, right? Is that they're basically kind of going back. With the last Smash, they kind of, in my opinion, went in the wrong direction. They took out a ton of content. They basically made it mostly multiplayer focused with almost no single player content at all. This time they kind of went back, and now they re-added the single player content, which is great. It's supposed to have a robust story mode. That is 100% where I'm going first. I'm going to this robust story mode where maybe you'll get to play various characters and mess around with them a little bit to see their abilities and the like. And try to get a more of an understanding for Smash again just by playing through this fun story mode, okay? Then once the story mode is done, then I can kind of say, gee, what else do I want to do? Is there other single-player content? Do I maybe want to take some characters into, like, a training session and try to... Or do I just want to go online? Because the thing is, you know, unlike other fighting games that are far more traditional, Smash is very much a game that was built as a party game first, then eventually through a lot of honing and tweaking turned into a competitive game. And I honestly don't really care about being good at it. And just being very honest with you guys, I don't. You know, Street Fighter, yeah, any Street Fighter game I play, I at least want to have some kind of a basic understanding of the game, so that when I'm playing online, I'm not getting my ass handed to me. I don't really care about that. With Smash, I just don't give a crap. So I think what I'm gonna do is, like I said, first check out the story mode, see how it goes. All right. Then once the story mode's over, just maybe jump online with various characters and mess around with the modes and the like. I'm sure that there's going to be both competitive modes as well as more casualized online modes. Like, let's face it, the modes that have, like, varied stages with the crazy items and shit is real wild. And I remember playing that and actually liking some of that because it was just so insane doing it with the crazy items and shit. But basically, we'll see. We'll see how it goes and go from there. You know, I'm not going to promise you anything because I don't even know how the game's going to turn out. What if I play it and I end up playing the story mode and it's boring and I hate it, and I try to go online, I'm like, I don't like this game, then I'm not going to play it. If I play the game and I really like it and I enjoy it, then I will play it. You know what I mean? But what I will say is this, okay, and this is being very honest with you. As you guys know, first-party Nintendo titles, I make no money on YouTube on them at all, okay? Nintendo claims everything. So that being said, for me to do extended coverage of Smash would require that people actually show up to the streams and participate on the streams and are part of the streams. And I know people on YouTube will be like, but yo, I know. Listen, I know. It sucks. But, you know, it's going to rely on stream support for me to continuously play those games. Because I'm going to see a big dip in YouTube revenue at the time when I'm playing Smash. So, let's see how it goes. We'll play it by... I'm definitely getting the game. We'll play it by ear and go from there. I'm not going to promise the world anything because I can tell you I am interested in the other modes and stuff, but let's see how it goes. Okay? All right, a couple shout-outs here. Trollatronic says, why is the chat so dead? I don't know what you're talking about. The chat is not dead at all. The chat has been going boop, 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 like a mile a minute ever since I started the show. I think Trollatronics, your Twitch may be screwed up. You might want to refresh. DJ Sandex did a 100-bit cheer. Thank you very much. And Die James gifted a subscription to DJ Sandex. Congratulations. Okay, continuing on. The next question is from Hermano Carl, and he has two different questions. His first question is, do you have a favorite book, and which one would you recommend? Man, I mean, I haven't read a good book in a long time, but then again, I'm so busy with everything, I really don't have a lot of time to do much. What I would say is, the last good book series I read was Game of Thrones, but sadly it fell off. Like, I remember reading the first 3 to 4 Game of Thrones books and loving them, and then when I got to the last one, I hated it. I was like, dude, George R.R. Martin basically lost track of what he wanted to do and got so convoluted in his own fucking head that he created characters that really are boring and have nothing interesting to do in the whole fucking series. And the books are disjointed and not even in the same timeline parallel. It just fell apart. So Game of Thrones is a perfect example of a book series that starts off strong, but because of its own popularity, it fell apart over time. I always was a fan of Michael Crichton. Rest in peace, Michael Crichton. In my opinion, one of the best modern authors that ever existed. So many cool, like, sci-fi themed stuff. You know, Jurassic Park is the one everyone knows. But he did other things like Sphere and the Andromeda Strain and just so many. I can't even think of all off the top of my head, but I read every major Michael Crichton book, and I loved Michael Crichton's work. Outside of that, I read a few things from Dan Brown. I actually read things like The Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, and there was another one, too, that he wrote that I'm pretty sure I read, the next one after that. I think Dan Brown's good, although he uses just a lot of cliche stuff. There's always a crazy twist and shit that you don't expect, but sometimes it's, like, unbelievable, the stupid twists. But I think that those are pretty good books. I mean, outside of all that, I read the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Tolkien books, and those are really good. But the difference between Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and the movie Lord of the Rings is that Tolkien really, in his books, completely elaborates on everything. Like, he will describe the orcs down to the nines. He'll give, like, tons of atmospheric stuff, so you kind of can really visualize what's going on in your head. While in a movie, they don't have to do that. So, like, in the movies, they could steamroll through things that in the books took, like, entire chapters. And then also in the books, there was a lot of elaboration, a lot of characters like Tom Bombadil and stuff that, in my opinion, was kind of cool and interesting, but at the same time kind of silly. But it was okay to take a chapter or two of the book and be silly, while in the movie, it wouldn't even have a place. It wouldn't make sense. So, the Tolkien books are good. That's about it. Like, when I was a kid, I used to read stuff. Like, I used to read these books from an author named Brian Jacques, who would write the Redwall series of books. These were anthropomorphic animals, so animals that acted like humans. And it was supposed to be set in Britain, and they would have abbeys, Redwall Abbey, where the animals would live there and try to coexist and protect the abbey from invaders and the like. And then there were spin-offs of other things, knights and stuff. It was like basically medieval anthropomorphic animals. I read that when I was younger. So there you go. Those are basically the major book series that I've read in my life. I haven't read anything in a million years, though. Like I said, the last thing I actually read was the Game of Thrones series. So, one final one. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you are a cynical person or you like dry, cynical humor, you will absolutely love that book series. At the time of my life when I read it, that's what I was into, and I absolutely loved it. I will strongly recommend, though, you do not watch the movie. The movie basically bastardizes a lot of the plot lines and crams like 5 books into one shitty movie. The books are way better. There you go. Okay. Hermano Carl has a second question. He says, would you do another run of the Dark Souls games with a sorcerer build? I know it might be more difficult on some parts, but it's more fun and interesting in my opinion. If people actually wanted to see that, absolutely. Of course, I've never done a magic build except for my original run in Dark Souls 2, which was kind of unintentional. Because if you guys remember, I wanted to be a paladin build, which was going to be primarily melee class with healing. But then all of a sudden, I realized the lightning bolts were so overpowered that I just became everything into lightning bolts, right? So you're right. I've never done like an offensive magic / sorcerer style build before. Now that I'm much better at the Dark Souls franchise, I'm better at dodging and avoiding and stuff, maybe it would make sense, because as we know, those sorcerers are kind of like glass cannons, right? They can't take damage for shit, but they deal tons of damage. So I could definitely be interested in something like that. I guess the real question here would be, how would we do it? Would we start from Dark Souls 1, right? Start with Dark Souls 1, try to do a sorcerer build. The other thing is, I don't know anything about it. I don't know what I've always gone through Dark Souls, found a million items and things, and never known what was the good ones, right? Like, oh, here, a ring for mages. I don't need that. Fucking throw it out, right? But now it would be like, damn, I need to know where all the good magic gear is, which I pretty much avoided every time I've ever played the series. So it would be an interesting take on it. But yeah, what I would say is I'm definitely interested in doing it. But I would need help. That would definitely be a series where if I'm going to go through the Dark Souls franchise doing magic builds that I've never done before, I need help to tell me where's the equipment and shit to get to become the better magic class. Because if I just do it and don't know where anything is, then what's the point, right? Okay. Shout out to Faithin131, who was resale for the 21st month in a row and says, Happy Thanksgiving, Phil. Keep up the awesome work and looking forward to another year of great content. Thank you very much, Faithin, for that. I appreciate that. All right, let's continue on. From Derek Loves Lemur. He asks, what do you think of the current WWE product? Honestly, I find SmackDown Live way better than Raw, probably because it's a 2-hour show. I also love Mixed Match Challenge and the Mae Young Classic and also NXT, but Raw not so much. I honestly am pretty much almost completely in agreement with Derek. First of all, for those who don't know, WWE has a ridiculous amount of wrestling content now. If you're a subscriber to the WWE Network, just in the last year, there's tons of new shit on there. So, just to give some perspective on all the content, you've got your Monday Night Raw, which is their Monday night flagship show, usually 3 to 3.5 hours long every week. Tuesday night SmackDown, or SmackDown Live as they call it now, a 2-hour show every Tuesday night. Then they've got, on the WWE Network, 205 Live, which is an hour-long show every week of cruiserweights, guys who are supposed to be like 205 pounds or lighter, and do a lot of, high-stakes flipping aerial moves. Then they've got NXT, which is their developmental property, and they got 2 different things in NXT. They got the regular NXT based out of Florida, where a lot of the up-and-coming talent is signed and trained, and they hone their characters before they make it to the main shows. Then they've got a new NXT UK that just launched like a month ago, a whole British division of wrestling, where they signed all these wrestlers to do shows for them over there, and eventually they're going to be bringing them into the mainstream WWE product. Then they've got specials. So, for example, they just did the Mae Young Classic, which is a special they seem to be doing annually now, where they take in all these indie wrestlers, female wrestlers, and bring them in to have a tournament-style series, and then they basically look at the best performers and talent, and they see who worked, and they sign a lot of them, which is pretty cool. Then you've got the Mixed Match Challenge, which is, they actually liked it so much, and it was so successful the first time, they did it twice in 1 year. This is when they have a male superstar and a female superstar team up and do tag team gimmick matches. These matches aren't necessarily mostly serious, like high-level technical matches, but instead they have a lot of gimmicks and fun plot lines and stuff in them. It's just a really fun show to watch because it's silly fun versus always being so super serious about a serious plot line or whatever on television. So it's a good show. Out of all of what I just described, which is all WWE content, I would probably say I do like Friday Night SmackDown, that's what it used to be called. SmackDown Live, NXT, 205 Live, NXT UK are probably my 4 favorite things on WWE. And like I just said, 3 of those are on WWE Network, and they're like not even mainstream things. You know what I mean? Monday Night Raw, for me, is almost unbearable to watch anymore. Like, first of all, it's way too fucking long. Half the plot lines end up being thrown away. They tried to revamp the show to have a lot more wrestling instead of stupid gimmicks and stupid joke content, but it's still unbearable. Like, there's just too much going on, and the show needs to be shortened dramatically. It's just too much. It's too busy. That's the best word for it. It's too busy. If there's too much going on in front of you, you don't know what to focus on anymore, and a lot of the times when you start focusing on something, then everything falls apart anyway. Like, you never know what's going to happen in the world of pro wrestling. Someone could get injured, someone could get sick, and the next thing you know, a whole plot line that's been building up is puffed out and fluffed out and it's gone. And for me, I don't want that. I want something that's more streamlined and more focused. So I think that SmackDown Live actually is the better show, okay? But anyway, I actually like a lot of the stuff that's not on mainstream TV a lot more than the mainstream TV shows at this point. Okay. Continuing on, Cisco Certified asks the following. He says, what are some of your favorite pinball tables of all time? Would you ever stream a console pinball, such as Stern Pinball or the Pinball Arcade? Out of, I did play various pinball games back in the day because I grew up in arcades, but the one pinball table that no matter where I went, I loved playing, it was called Circus Voltaire. And what it was like a circus that was like a dark, evil circus, okay? So it was kind of creepy, and the reason I liked it is because it actually had like movement and stuff on the table. There was like things that would move ramps and stuff when you played it. And there was a couple skill checks in it where basically if you just keep hitting the same ramp over and over, you get like double, triple, quad bonus. And I actually got really good at the game. I was able to get like high scores. I never maxed out the score at my local arcade on it, but I was pretty close. I think I got up to like third place. And Circus Voltaire, I'd probably say was my favorite table of all time. Would I ever play a video game of pinball? I don't know. Like, that's kind of, in particular, when you think about it, like, is there really a pinball game that's going to attract people's interest? Pinball games are fun for like the first 5 minutes to a viewer, because like, oh, look, you want to see every ramp and what it does. You want to see, you know, special thing. And then it's kind of like, okay, you've done it. It's more interesting to the player because you're trying to challenge yourself at a skill level to get better. But as for the viewer, it's not necessarily the most entertaining thing. So honestly, would I ever play a pinball game? Probably not, just being honest. Okay. Shout out to Cresta Angel, who did 100-bit cheers. Is there any character in particular you'd be interested in playing in Smash Ultimate? No. And the reason I say that, I'm completely open to playing anyone in the game. And even though I'm sure I'll be gravitating towards characters I know, like the classic Nintendo characters, Ryu and stuff like that, maybe I'll try a character that's a character I don't even know who the frig it is, and I'll like them, right? But no, like, unlike other people who are like, oh, I'm so hyped about Smash, I look at the whole roster, and I want to play with them and them. No, I'm just kind of chill about it, and when it comes out, I try it out. Okay, we're going to take a couple more questions here, and then I'm going to take a break to relax my voice here, and then we'll come back with the second half of Ask the King. Okay? All right. Dean Jones asked the following. He says, seeing as you have a long history with the competitive gaming industry, particularly fighting games, have you noticed any differences in how esports are played or viewed now compared to when it started out in arcades during your competitive Street Fighter era? Yeah, it's a totally different thing. Today, esports Street Fighter is nothing like old school Street Fighter. First of all, when you used to play Street Fighter in the arcades, you had to have thick fucking skin. And the reason I say that is because it was very much a smash mouth, trash talking style environment. If you walked into an arcade and you were going to play someone on a cabinet, you're probably going to get shit talked to you. Oh, you suck. Who do you think you are? You think you're going to beat me? And you're in a game, you drop a combo, someone would turn you, you dropped your combo, scrub, and stuff like that. Like, that was very much a part of the whole arcade experience back in the day. Today, you can't do that at a tournament. You get banned, or you get disqualified for trash talking or whatever, right? Back then, okay, it was more of the courage to get in line and stand up and face your opponent in person and put up with that kind of almost boys club mentality of, you would earn respect by continuously showing up every week, playing on that cabinet, and eventually becoming good, even though you were having all this fucking shit talking and distractions and stuff like that, okay? And a lot of people weren't okay with that. Today it's a very different environment. You train at home. You play online, right? Maybe you play with a few respected peers in a safe environment. It wasn't like that back then. Number two, there was no money in it. And I mean that. Even the biggest tournaments back in the day on arcades had no money in them. You would travel across the country, which would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to pay for room and board, food. And then you go to a tournament, pay an entry fee, play for 2 straight fucking days, finally get to the finals, beat it. Okay, here's your reward, $500. I spent more than that on the plane. You know what I mean? That's how it used to be. It was more for the love of the game and the fact that you could realize there was a high level competitive play at a game that normally you wouldn't play at that level because you were just playing against local people, that got people into wanting to play competitive Street Fighter at a higher level and wanting to travel. And honestly, for me, what I really got out of competitive Street Fighter was way more complex than just getting better at the game or winning a tournament. It was making relationships and friendships with people across the country, meeting people of different cultures, different races, different areas, just different geographic locations. I mean, in my time playing competitive Street Fighter, I went through the entire Northeast United States, including places like New Jersey, Vermont, Massachusetts, New York, obviously Connecticut, Rhode Island, then starting heading south places like Virginia, Maryland, Georgia, Florida, then starting to move west, places like Texas and stuff like that. I've been up to the Midwest area like Chicago, and then California, and various parts of California, both NorCal and SoCal, North California and Southern California. If I wasn't playing competitive Street Fighter, you know what I mean? Like, I would have went out there. I mean, yeah, I still could have done that, but it would have been more just walking around like a tourist. Instead, I got to really know the people, see the culture, hang out with them, try the local cuisine and stuff. It was really cool. It absolutely was a really cool thing, being a part of all of that. But that's what I mean. That's what it was back then. It was kind of like, it's my hobby, it's a passion, and you do it for the love of the game, but also for the fun of meeting people. Today, esports is very much a business. I do it to make money. I want to get sponsors, I want to stream and make money on my streams, and I want this to become a career, and I want blah, 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 blah. You see what I mean? It's different. When things become big business, it all changes, and it really changed with Street Fighter 4. When Street Fighter 4 released, all of a sudden we had all of these peripheral companies who wanted to make money. So you had Mad Cat, you had Hori, you had, who was the other third big one? There were 3 big joystick manufacturers at that time. I'm having a brain fart. But now you got even more. Razer and other companies that have gotten into it. You got big teams that now try to seek out sponsors and sponsorship. You wear a jersey to the tournament with fucking patches all over it and shit. You see what I mean? Like, very different. When I went, it was all about you. It was all about you as a person, just representing your local region of the country and trying to show off that your region of the country had skill, and also just kind of just having fun. It's kind of like they say with everything. Back in the day, sports, right, professional sports were all about the love of the game. The basketball player who did it because he loved the game. The baseball player who did it because he loved the game. Now it's, well, unless I get my million dollar contract year over year, I'm not playing the game. So that's what I mean. Like, it's very much a business at this point. And quite frankly, because of that, what I've seen is that sadly games have changed to cater to that. And sadly, you know, it's very hard, I would say, for someone who has that aspiration that maybe one day I could be a top guy like this esports guy that I see, to get into it. Do you have the backing, the funding? Do you think you have what it takes, the time and dedication to basically just play the fucking game constantly to get on a team? Because I'll be honest, when I was growing up playing competitive fighting games, I only had 2 days a week where I could really play them, Friday, Saturday. And it would be Friday night, Saturday night, go to the local arcade, play, and that was it. The rest of my week was school, work, and all of that. And then every once in a while, maybe had a long weekend, or I took time away from school and work so I could go on a trip to go to a tournament. But, like, that was it. Today, if you want to be a pro-level player, fuck that. You got to drop everything. You got to sit here, play the game all day long, right? Because that's what these people have turned it into. It's not... It used to be a video game for the love of the game. Now it's a video game for the sake of becoming a business and making money. So it's a full-time deal. You got to sit there and do it constantly. And so that's a big hindrance, you know, for a lot of people who has the time and money where they don't have to work and they don't have to fucking go to school or nothing, where they could just sit there and play a game and become so good at it that now you can do that as your job. See what I mean? It's a very, very, very different thing than it used to be. I'm not saying it's better or worse. And quite frankly, you know, I was part of competitive Street Fighter during its formative years, okay? And it was a lot of flux and a lot of drama. Like, I remember the year when Evo went from playing on all arcade cabinets to console. Oh my god, and I was one of the people against console. I wanted to play on the arcade cabinet because I wanted that consistent control level. That version of the game was the game that you knew. I wanted to stay on arcade cabinets, and you know, look at how well that didn't last very long, right? You know, all that stuff, those formative years of what Street Fighter and what fighting games would become at a high competitive level, allowing it to eventually go into an esports level. Because let's face it, if all arcade games, or if all Street Fighter games and all fighting games in general stayed on arcade cabinets, there'd be no esports. What peripheral can you sell to play on an arcade cabinet? The button company, right? So replacement buttons that cost like less than $1 each. You know what I mean? Like, so esports are possible because of sponsorship, and sponsorship brings in a whole new level of stuff that changes the face of something, and that's what happened with things like competitive fighting games. Okay, I probably got time for one more question before we take a break. A couple more shout-outs. Insomniatic Meat resub for the 23rd month in a row. Thank you very much, Insomniatic Meat. And Straight Cash Homie did 100-bit cheers. What are your thoughts on Diablo Infinite? I really don't have any. Like, I'm probably never going to play it. Just being honest, I'm probably never going to touch the thing. I have no desire to play Diablo on a phone. The game's addictive enough on PC. I can just imagine me just I do clicking all day on the phone. And I can understand why the fans who wanted Diablo 4 are so furiously angry that the game exists. And that's pretty much it. Like, I just don't care. For me, it's like a non-entity. So, okay, one more question, and then we'll take a break. This question's from Toddle. And he says, Phil, the House of Representatives is trying to create a copyright small claims court to lower the cost of suing copyright infringers. It's called HR 3945, aka the CASE Act. Awards would be capped at $30,000, but you probably wouldn't need to spend $10,000 to get a lawyer to start your case. What do you think about this? How would it make it easier to go after people that repost your content? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, I have had ridiculous amounts of problems over the years with people illegally, without permission, stealing my content off of YouTube and using it for various purposes. In general, I don't mind it. I never really cared if someone would take my gameplay and do something fun with it or positive with it, but I really didn't enjoy when people would take the gameplay and then make a video that was misrepresentative of what my content actually is for the sake of saying, oh, look, Phil's a jerk or Phil sucks, and just kind of poke fun and make me look bad. Because sadly, that hurts myself, that hurts my business, that hurts my reputation. And, you know, over the years, there have been various times when I've spoken with either a partner network who I was a part of or directly with YouTube saying what could be done in regards to people who are literally the worst offenders. Someone who will take my stuff completely out of context to make it look like I'm a villain or I'm something I'm not, and basically try to misrepresent me with slander or whatever on YouTube. And over the years, the response I always got was very simple. Use YouTube's automated system that's put in place. And I was like, okay. And, you know, every once in a while you would try it or whatever. It never works, okay? Never. At all. Because here's what happens on YouTube if you try to do anything with copyright. You basically find a video that you feel is infringing, okay? And you tell YouTube, I think it's infringing. They literally stole my content. You know, you can see it. It's in the video. I didn't give permission for this. And what YouTube will do is review it. And if they find that a certain percentage of your content was used in a certain other person's video without your permission, they will basically take down that video temporarily and send a notice to that person stating they now have received a copyright strike against their channel. And that person then has to either ignore it and say, okay, I lost, I guess. I got a copyright strike against my channel. I have to get it, you know, expired in like 6 months or however long it takes now for a copyright strike to expire. Or I can dispute it. If you dispute a copyright strike on YouTube, basically you are making a legal claim that I believe this is false. I used that person's content within the confines of what's allowed of fair use law in the United States of America, and therefore this is a false claim and it should be removed, okay? YouTube takes absolutely no legal stance whatsoever and doesn't do any research whatsoever into the situation. If they receive a counterclaim, they immediately remove the copyright strike and put the video back live, okay? And then basically they tell the person who did the claim, well, unless you're going to sue the person, there's nothing we can do. So in essence, the truth of the matter is, there is zero way to protect any copywritten content on YouTube unless you are a giant company that's filthy rich and has a legal department that can file lawsuit against every single person who steals your content, okay? Now, to counter this, what's happened is YouTube now has a content ID system by which, let's say a major company like Universal Pictures, Sony Music, stuff like that. Well, we know we can't sue every fucking person that uses our content, so instead of that, we'll identify it via a bot who will search videos automatically on YouTube, and if we think we identify content that's ours, we just want to claim rights on that video and make money on that video. So that's what they do. That's what this whole content ID system is, where sometimes you'll upload a video, and all of a sudden you'll get to think, oh, we identified a song in your video, and now all advertising rights on that video go to this music company. Like, wait a minute. First of all, number one, just because I used a snippet of a music clip or there was a piece of music in a video game doesn't mean 100% of the fucking advertisement rights of this video that's an hour long should go to this company. That legally makes no fucking sense. Number two, a lot of the times it's not even correct. I've gotten, just this past week, I've gotten 3 different things. One of them, of all things, my fucking Detroit Become Human playthrough from earlier this year. Someone claiming that it's real content ID, it's someone else's content. I'm like, wait, what? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it wasn't even like music, it was some other YouTuber somehow claimed my video. Now, they didn't do it manually, it was the bot that did it. And I'm looking at like, what the fuck? So I did get it cleared up. I had to dispute it, and I got it cleared up. So basically, YouTube's copyright infringement system is so broken, almost no one uses it anymore. Instead, they've all jumped to this content ID. They pay YouTube a ton of money to get their content uploaded to YouTube server bot that searches everything, and then they try to steal ad revenue from other people, which, by the way, if ever went to court, would also be found illegal, but no one bothers with it, okay? So it's a mess. YouTube is a fucking mess. The problem is that YouTube requires an actual lawsuit to permanently take down any video on YouTube, okay? For those who don't know, as Toddle just said, it could take thousands of dollars to actually file a lawsuit against anyone. And it takes time and money that most individual YouTubers like me don't have that or don't want to bother with that. There's so many people who steal my content and do whatever the fuck they want with it. How on earth would I ever keep track of it? And how the hell would I ever take it all down? You know, who has the money and time for that? Nobody. So what Toddle is saying is that I guess finally our government in the United States is trying to catch up with the times and realizing, oh shit, copyright is digital now. It's not just like, oh, someone's selling a knockoff t-shirt in a store or someone, you know, is selling bootleg movies on the fucking streets in New York City. Instead, people are constantly stealing everyone's content on the internet and fucking doing shit with it illegally. And maybe we should put some kind of fucking protections in to stop that, right? So the truth of the matter is, I agree what should happen here. All right, what should really happen is we should have a system that is completely separate from the long drawn out bullshit systems that we have in the courts right now for copyright, for digital copyright. And it should have to do in particular with on-demand video use, streaming video use, because this is a huge industry right now. And we need to have it catered, maybe, okay, someone stole my content, okay, and they made a really nasty video that really hurt my reputation, and YouTube won't fucking take it down. Number one, you should be able to sue that person directly, and number two, you should be able to sue YouTube for facilitating that video and not taking it down, even though you notified them that it was slanderous to you, okay? And basically, you should go to court for a minimal fee, by the way. It shouldn't be, oh, thousands of dollars, you know, a couple $100 maybe, and the court will hash it out. Gee, was this video defamatory? Did it use content without permission? And then royalties get generated based off of not only how much money that person made stealing your content, but also damages to your own reputation. In which case, I'd be a fucking millionaire. Because if I hadn't been slandered all over the internet for the past 5 to 6 years, I still would probably be one of the top YouTubers for gaming, and I never would have had half the negative shit that happened to me to put me in the situations that I've been in ever happen. If YouTube actually were responsible and not allowed nasty, defamatory, bullying content on their fucking website as a business practice, I'd be in a much better position than I am right now. But the bottom line is, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, this sounds like a good first step, but ultimately, I hate to say this, when it comes to the United States government, usually they have a really good idea, and by the time it finally becomes law, it's such a watered down, ambiguous version of that original good idea that they had that I don't know if it's going to turn into anything that's anything active for anyone, you know, anything useful for anyone. And the bottom line is, even for me, even if it cost $100 to do this, I couldn't do it. I don't have the money for it, you know? I mean, maybe 5 years ago, that would have been something good to put in place to stop the insane amount of people who stole my stuff to make me look bad so they could get views and make money on my shit. But at this point, the floodgates have already been opened, been there, done that. How do you fix a reputation that's been slandered for 5 straight years? And how in the holy hell would I afford to be, even then, even if it were cheap, how would I afford it? I couldn't, you know? So for me, like I said, Toddle, I just focus on the future. You know what? YouTube for me is the past. YouTube is an archive for me, and the future is daily, fun, entertaining live streams. I don't really care at this point what these people do on YouTube anymore because YouTube won't listen. I don't know how many times, you know, people have violated YouTube's terms of service, copyright infringement, and YouTube doesn't give a fuck. So there's no point in bothering with any of it. I haven't. I don't submit people for takedowns. I don't do that shit because there's no point to it. It's a waste of my time. I'd rather be here putting out positive streams every day than focusing on, oh, who do I take down today? Who stole my shit? There's just no point, okay? All right. So a few more shout outs. Straight Cash Homie did a 1300-bit cheer. That obviously makes Straight Cash Homie the top contributor so far with cheers for today. Let's get him up there on the leaderboard. Thank you. I mean, he was already up there, but let's amend that top cheer spot. Ben Boxer cheered. He says, I don't have much, but I know I love your stream, so let these bits be all I need to know. Okay, thank you. Pro CFO asked something really stupid. I'm not even going to say that. Read about that. And Kate cheered and said, Happy Thanksgiving to Phil and the entire fan base. Hope that you enjoyed the pumpkin pie. Actually, we're not having pumpkin pie. We had it already. We actually had a pumpkin pie last week, and Kat loves pumpkin pie. It's gone, so no pumpkin pie tonight. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are here live, we're going to take a break. For those of you who are watching on demand on YouTube, well, watch part 2, okay? Thanks, everyone, so far. Fun stream. Hope you've enjoyed the question and answers. I'll be getting back to it in just a moment. I still got about a page and a half of questions to answer before we adjourn. So thanks, everyone, and I'll be back shortly with more Ask the King.